We are back here on the XRP podcast, and joining me, of course, is Steven McClurg coming in from Canary Capital. Today, we're going to break down a lot on clarity, what's going on in the ETFs. Also, I'll talk a little bit about the 30-year yield. This is starting to shake things up. You guys want to stick around for that. And where will Bitcoin and Ethereum be over the summer? Are we going to see a big move? Before we get into it, I do want to thank our sponsor, and this is a special offer for you guys. OKX is running an exclusive affiliate offer where you can earn up to $500 in XRP rewards just by hitting a few simple milestones. Step one, tier one, you can complete the KYC. You get $10 in XRP. If you go to step two, which is $100 on a deposit, you get another 40. Then you can bump that deposit and trade volume of just $1,000 and you grab an additional $100 in XRP. Best of all, for the heavy hitters out there, if you deposit and trade 10 grand, you can unlock a massive $350 XRP reward. This stacks onto all of this. So boom, you get up to $500 max earning, and it's paid directly out in XRP. So click the link down below. You guys are not want to miss this one. It is an awesome one. So Steven, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Paul.
So we got a lot to talk about. There's a few things that have been brewing. And I think one of the biggest issues that we are facing right now, I put out a tweet this morning. Actually, I want to showcase this first because I think this is more important, is the fact that we saw a very big move happen right here. And it kind of, I was surprised by this. So Goldman Sachs liquidates their $154 million XRP position. They pivot to Hyperliquid's Treasury, but there was also a liquidation of Solana in this one as well. So is this normal for major institutions to do these kind of moves where they just literally go from one to another? Is this something you see all the time?
Well, yeah, yes and no. It can be. So I don't know which ETF that Goldman Sachs liquidated. Haven't looked at the data on where inflows possibly happened last
Yeah.
week. It wasn't our ETF. We've had pretty steady inflows for the last few weeks with no outflow, so that's been great. But the way that a lot of organizations work is they might seed an ETF,
Yeah.
and then when a new ETF comes out, they pull the seed to move it over to the other one.
Yeah.
That's one possible explanation. I've been watching this with a couple of other ETFs that have been coming out where it gets seeded, and then 2 weeks later, the seed gets pulled, and then it moves to the next one.
Yeah.
So it's not something that we do, but there are other ETF issuers that will do this. But
Yeah.
again, I don't know if that's the case, but that's one.
Theirs was a little different because it was distributed across several funds. You'll see here in the article, it was in Bitwise, Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, and 21 shares. So this was in their 13F filing. So that's happened. But at the same time, we're hearing rumors, and this is the thing that's a little unusual to me. I'll show you this one. And that is Citadel is reportedly investing another 1.7 mil. That's not much, but it is putting money into an XRP ETF potentially. Why do you see one major moving out and another one start to dabble into this? Is this a commonality that we see in Wall Street now?
Yeah, I mean, and again, each group has different reasons why they're investing or taking chips off the table.
Hmm.
In the case of Goldman, my guess is it's probably, again, seed capital that they're moving to another product. Citadel isn't necessarily the same type of shop, and they're probably seeing a basis trade. Again, I don't know. I'm
Okay.
speculating here,
Yeah.
but Citadel might see a basis opportunity in XRP, which, by the way, we see a pretty good basis trade here as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't shock me that they're using their prop desk to potentially trade basis.
Yeah. So interesting move there. You can see right here, CoinDesk reported XRP's ETF pulled in 60 million in net inflows last week. This was the strongest weekly performance for 2026. Inflows to 1.39 billion overall. When you look at the cumulative inflows, where do you think this will be at the end of the year?
That's a tough one because you also have to look at the market. I believe that XRP could probably double in price by the end of the year. So
From where it
that's
is today.
oh yeah, yeah, and
Okay.
that's definitely a factor. And the second factor is, of course, growing interest. Um, you know, I do believe the summer is going to be a tough summer
Yeah.
for equities and crypto across the board.
Hmm.
But once we go into the midterm election season, and then after midterms, that's when I believe that you'll see a lot more inflows coming in into the ETF. So I
Yeah.
think in addition to the double in price, we also probably see a 30% increase in interest by the end of the year as well.
So that being drawn in just because of what we are seeing in general, tokenized securities, RWAs, moving all this, of course, rises the interest of institutional, maybe clarity, which we'll talk about in a second. Do you think all of that comes together as just a nice cocktail and that's driving interest? What do you think it is? Or is there something completely more macro oriented here?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my statement came because of macro,
Okay.
but also clarity is important too. One of the important features of the XRP ledger is RWAs and stablecoins,
Mhm.
and clarity will certainly help promote that network. If you were asking me who the top 5 chains are that are going to win in tokenization, the XRP ledger is definitely in the top 5.
Top five. Who else would you put in there?
I like Sui a lot.
Okay.
I think that they're a great team. They're doing some really interesting things. I like Injective. I like SCI. I think all of those are really good spots for tokenization. And then HBAR is kind of unique as well, where um, they won't necessarily win, in my opinion, on the what people traditionally think about
Right.
tokenization, but more enterprise data, which you can tokenize the data it's itself, and I
Mhm.
think that's going to be a really interesting prospect.
Well, and in tokenized data, or I should say in tokenization, I think we're gonna see a lot of use cases that a lot of people just did not have the capacity to imagine what that innovation is going to affect in terms of where markets will go. So I would agree with you. I think there's a lot of interesting points. I'm still stuck on this point of you thinking that XRP doubles by year end. I mean, it's running at 137 after two pretty significant days. Or this morning, it's been down over the last couple of hours. But over the last couple of days, it has been trending down, and that would be a big move to double from here up to 260. So
Yeah.
that was after, of course, we saw continued macro pressure both off the China trip from Trump, but also just in general not getting out of Iran, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean there are some big variables out there,
Yeah.
and Iran is a very big variable,
Yeah,
so
that's a
it could change
beast.
everything.
The the Clarity Act gets through the Senate 15 to 9, the committee, shouldn't say the Senate, gets through the committee, the banking committee 15 to 9, and it's getting ready to go into the Senate. Now, if it goes in here shortly, A16Z is over here saying, listen, we think this thing is going to really create a whole new domestic boom for innovation and possibly affect the global markets, which I would agree with Genius that that does kind of set a little bit of a tone. What area do you think? Well, first of all, let's talk about your percentage now for passage in 2026. Where are you today?
Probably closer to 90%, and I know
Oh,
that's a big range.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're feeling very good about this. Clearly, A16Z is sitting on a position where they think this is going to go through. I'm still concerned that the ethics issue is going to stall this. You're not as much concerned about that.
No, I mean, what's happened since the last time we spoke, and when I was the opposite side of that,
Yeah, you were on the other
is
side. Yes.
you've got 2 political parties right now that are desperately trying to win Congress in any way that
Hmm.
they can.
Yep.
And making crypto a dividing factor isn't a great idea.
Mhm.
So, the Republicans are really coming from a place of weakness. They're obviously going to have to vote for it, even if there's a few dissenters.
Right.
And then the Democrats, they want to win both houses so bad that they
They'll
don't
do
want
anything.
issues to be in their way, despite the fact that you have the bank lobbyists trying to shut it down. But at the end of the day, it's the voters that matter, and you don't
Yeah.
want anything
The
to
fact that the fact that it made it through the committee, when you look at the Senate Banking Committee, that was a very strong
Mhm.
process that we went through for 6 months, literally, between the ABA, all the different regional bank, little, lobbyist groups. Then what we've got with both Coinbase and the major portion of the industry with these major PACs that are moving, massive power in DC. Do you think that power has shifted in terms of
No,
how this dictates?
no, I don't think necessarily the power has shifted. But certainly when you're this close to an important midterm election,
Yeah.
you want to focus on the broad general public instead of the lobbyist. So it's less of a
Okay.
power thing; it's more of a hey, let's stay in power thing.
Right.
But
Right.
what I will say is a lot of the crypto industry people have changed their mind a little bit on what they're willing to take and what they're willing to accept.
Right.
At this
Exactly.
point, and this is why, my 90% number kind of aligns with the 90% of crypto companies that are saying, no, we just need to get something passed because we
Okay.
don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years, the next 4 years. And then you still have a couple of holdouts like Coinbase who have almost killed the bill,
Yeah.
and now they're feeling the pressure from other people in the
The
industry.
industry. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. As far as yields, we have this kind of loophole in there right now. It is still ban on yields for passive, but there are some ways in which it could be done that's a little bit more finagled of how institutions or companies could bring this to market. Do you think that will end up on the compromise table?
Yeah, it certainly will be a compromised item, and that's probably the biggest compromise item. And I've said this before to you. I'm I'm actually aligned with the banks on that particular issue because
You
there's a
think they're
rule that they have to
securities?
follow,
Yeah.
and if you just have another player that doesn't have to follow it just because it's new tech, I mean that doesn't make any sense. And as a money manager who used to manage money market mutual funds and play
Right.
by the rules and registered as a security and be licensed and and go and follow all the rules, either you eliminate the rules for everybody or you make the stable coins follow the same rules if they want to distribute yield. I mean, that's my opinion.
But at the same time, we're talking about issuers here, but if you're a distributor of this stable coin or you're a wallet or you're in DeFi and you want to pay yield on something because you can go out and make it work and, generate a revenue system on this and be able to come back and pay yield or rewards, whatever you want to call it, back to the participant. Would
Yeah.
you agree with that?
That's a little bit more fuzzy. I mean, I'm kind of talking from the camp of, okay, if you're buying securities and putting them in a vehicle and then distributing the yield that comes from those securities, you're a security.
Yeah.
You're a RIC. And I think there's just because of the structure, they're trying to avoid that. Now, all you got to
Mm.
do is register it. It's not
Mm.
it's not that hard. Register as a RIC, register as a 40 Act product.
Interesting.
You know, there's
What?
there's there's nothing stopping you from doing that.
Right.
But you're talking about, okay, well, what if you take the token and then you place it for lending?
Yeah.
Then look, if it's DeFi lending, I don't think that that's a security.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about DeFi. So do you feel good that DeFi gets saved in this bill?
I do.
Protected.
I really
Okay.
do.
All
Now,
right.
now,
So
technically, though, if you're doing that on behalf of others and distributing them the yield, well, then you're an issuer.
yeah, you're an issuer. Sure. Man,
But
this is such a well, in reality, I mean, these rules have been around for a long time, but there's those nuances that it creates questions that everybody, I think, is trying to answer here now. So
yeah,
you look at the situation right now at the CFTC and tell me if this is important. Let me share this tweet with everybody. You've got this is kind of this everybody in urgent mode right now because they're worried about the ag leaders urging President Trump to fill these vacant CFTC seats, mainly because they feel that this is going to be an onslaught of governance that they have to do because of clarity possibly going through here. How important is and are these seats in the CFTC?
I think it's extremely important. And,
Extremely. Okay.
you know, CFTC has actually historically done a lot for crypto, even in the days when the SEC was fighting against it. The CFTC was a lot more favorable. So they've done a lot, and they now have a lot more of a burden,
Yeah.
as mentioned here, looking at crypto as a commodity
Mhm.
and monitoring it with other commodities. I think that the CFTC probably needs to be beefed up a little bit even
Oh,
to
wow.
help prevent fraud and theft. So there's a lot here, and I do think these seats need to be filled pretty quickly, and that probably some funding needs to needs to
Interesting.
be increased for the CFTC. And I hate saying extra funding for government,
Right. Yeah.
but I think in this case it's pretty important, and they probably are underfunded.
Well, and you are opening up a massive innovation lane now with if Clarity does go through it, you're 90%. That's an innovation lane that is very similar to the era of the internet where you're going to see that many new products and services coming out. So now that there are financial services having the CFTC involved, I could see that being a problem, which could be a little bit sticky down the road, especially into the next presidential term. These could kinda backfire, some of these, so I'm concerned about that. Are you at all concerned about reversal of all this work that's done in this administration, in the next administration, if in fact they were, meaning the Republicans, were to lose the White House?
Mhm. No, I think it's hard to put the cat back into the bag.
Mm,
We're largely regulated by opinion from the SEC
yeah,
over the last few years,
that's a good point.
and now that opinion has changed. So if there were a situation and it was even taken to court, it's like, no, there was guidance given. They followed the guidance, and now you want to take that guidance, walk it back, and punish. It's very hard to walk that back. So I do believe that it's going to be very difficult. Now we won't see as much progress as we've had in the last 2 years, but we're at a pretty good spot.
Yeah. I like to hear that from you, man, because I feel like you kinda know what's up to there. Talk to me about this right here. I'm gonna share this. US 30-year Treasuries now rose now as high as 5.1%, 1.6%, this morning. So this is the highest level in the run-up, since we saw the global financial crisis. So that's a little scary to me. What does this do to markets?
Well, it's by the way, it's not entirely shocking. I remember in 2016, I called the top of the bond market, and left my bond manager job to go to crypto.
Yeah,
So we're 10 years, we're now 10 years into a generational bear market in
right.
bonds, and it'll probably last another 20. We are moving fairly quickly here, and if you look at 10-year, which a lot of things are priced
Mhm.
to, we're right around 460 right now. I see a scenario where in the short run, the 10-year gets above 5%,
Okay.
and the 30-year probably above 5.5.
Oof.
So it creates a funding crunch for the US government. So the
Yes, in a
government's going
big
to
way.
have to probably either increase taxes or cut expenses. I'm for cutting expenses, but they're for raising taxes.
Yeah, no doubt.
In addition to that, it probably will also track inflation. And I do expect inflation to continue to go higher, particularly with gasoline prices as high as they are. I think it's going to take a very long time for gasoline prices to come back down. but high gas, high energy prices, whether it's from, oil based or other energy, which is now fueling AI data
Right.
centers, we've got an energy crisis
Yeah.
potentially in our hands across the board. And that energy crisis spills into the cost of goods of everything going up in price. So it's not a shocker at all that rates continue to go up and the curve continues to steepen.
So you've got growth in tech stocks, which I think will get hit the hardest here. I want to take a minute, guys, and just invite you to join the Barron Market Edge private member group. You guys can do that by just clicking the link down in our description. This is your insider's edge to the AI and crypto money revolution, which is what we really focus on here on PBN. This is additional research that I do along with our team. And we have a pretty significant team on our research around not only what guides our episodes, but a lot of that research gets built into more content that I drop here on the Barron Market Edge. We do market trends and sentiment analysis, which can be anything from tokens to all sorts of strategies. This, of course, will also guide you over to our Telegram group, and we give this as elite community access. You get bonus content over there, including tax guides, as well as different kinds of asset guides out there that we drop all the time. This is your 10-year vision in action. All you have to do, of course, is just hit that little subscribe button or join the community and get in on it. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a thing. So check it out. Look at maybe even real estate and mortgage markets that freeze up a little bit.
Mhm.
This seems a little bit more concerning to me in terms of at least how the market responds to this. I mean, because obviously that affects risk markets like crypto in a
Yeah.
big way. What would come that's good out of this?
Well, I mean, I guess the good thing that's coming out of this is we now have a normalized curve again, almost.
Okay,
Where for the longest time it was inverted, which means that it makes it actually easier to understand risk and invest
I see.
when the curve
Okay.
is normal again.
Hmm.
And that's really the only good thing out of it. It is rising too quickly for the economy to support it. So
Right.
interest rates where they're going, not necessarily even where they are now, but where they're going plus inflation will likely drive us into a recession in 2027.
Doesn't this kind of go in opposition of what Scott Besson has been trying to do? Because this strengthens the US dollar.
Well, it
It's going to
strengthens
make it
the US
expensive.
dollar, but nobody can buy anything. I mean, it's what's interesting is if you look at government, they only hang out with their rich friends, right? So 10% of the country is doing just fine.
They can't see it. Yeah.
90% of the country is where the real pain is. So
Right.
imagine if you're, for instance, a retiree on a fixed income. How are you able to pay for things right now? You
Okay, all right, so I wanna go back to the point you said, going into a recession potentially here. Would into a recession like this, because we haven't seen a real recession in a while,
Mhm.
what would be the assets that you think would be protected in such a recession?
So right now, what I'm seeing is it's real estate, but it's select real estate. So if you look at, I would say any homes, single family homes
Yeah,
that are under $1 million, those are in a really bad space right now. People
okay,
can't afford them; they can't afford the loans on them.
right,
But the $1 million and over, or even probably more like the $3 million and over, are doing just fine. Again, 10% of the country's doing great. They're invested
yeah.
in tech stocks, they're buying up real estate, and they're continuing to make money where the other 90% aren't. So select real estate is fine. Gold.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Real estate gold into a recession. So you guys need to think about that as we move on to this, because this treasury yield and the 10-year is going to be another one to kind of keep an eye on it. What would flip this? What do you think could happen that would cause this to move inverted?
Yeah, I mean, well, and even just a situation where the curve continues to stay normal, but just lower rates.
Yeah.
Really, we would have to end the war in Iran. We
Yeah.
would have to probably begin to pull out of, other areas as well. So,
Mm.
Military spending super high, and then cut government programs, which I think Trump tried it in the first 3 months with Elon, and then gave up. But those are really the only things that can
That's
that
it.
can
I
help
mean,
here.
reduce spending, get out of the wars,
Yeah,
possibly our exposure in Europe. Maybe that would be it. I mean, they're kind of throwing that out there in terms of a possibility.
yeah,
Beyond that, let's go over to because this is something that is also moving quickly, and that's tokenized stocks. You also look at the surge in RWA, real world assets. This is a big deal. I mean, we are seeing literally a transformational shift in our financial system right now. What chains do you think win this race?
yeah. I mean, I'm still really big on XRP Ledger, primarily for the financial chains. SWE is super interesting as well.
Yeah.
So they just released the first, you know, dollar based on the SWE network, which I think is
Yep.
super interesting. And then also, they're doing a lot of interesting things with the Bitcoin network too. So I know that you know, they're exploring tokenizing hash rate for Bitcoin mining companies,
Hmm.
as well as tokenizing Bitcoin itself and a wrap vehicle that moves along the SWE network. These are really this is a really smart team. A lot of them came from Facebook when they were
Right.
building Libra, and they've had all these ideas that they've been wanting to implement for a long time, and they finally have the chance to do it over at Miston Labs. So I'm just super impressed by SWE. It's and what they're growing over there, and it's very technically feasible.
Yeah, I think some of the advancements they've made have been good. I'm still on the fence with SWE in the sense of does it have the distribution and the kind of network it needs to really kind of accelerate up? Because sometimes you could, and this has happened so many times in Silicon Valley, you can have one of the best products out there, but if you don't have distribution, then really you just don't have anything. So that's always a concern
Yeah.
on that. You look at ETH, you look at XRP. I think those two are going to continue to be very, and even Solana to a certain extent. So I don't know. I don't know. This is I'm on the fence with that one. Let's talk about Bitcoin though, and its current price. It plunged below 77K.
Hmm.
We saw ETH, XRP both slide. These are, I think they were around 3% in an overnight. So where do you put Bitcoin this summer? Do you give me your low entry for Bitcoin for the summer?
Yeah. So you know, we've had a bit of a rally in May, which has been fantastic, but I still believe the summer is going to be tough, given uncertainty around midterms. So
Mhm.
Bitcoin back down to 65 isn't entirely shocking to me,
Okay, all right.
and then rallying back up to north of 80, maybe even 90 by the end of the year. Um, Also wouldn't be a big shock to me, but likely wouldn't happen until closer to midterms or after the midterms.
Interesting. I've got a 67K target right now with Bitcoin. I'm not sure where that would put XRP or Ethereum or even Solana, but that is the one I'm watching the most in terms of dictating how some of these assets are going to move. So you can kind of see
Hmm.
where it's heading. But I agree with you. I think the summer is going to be a little bit more difficult for sure. And to your price prediction right here on XRP, it may explode. Now, this guy is way out there compared to where you are.
I wish, but
Wouldn't that be something? That would be great for ETFs. People would be flying into ETFs if we saw that kind of price action. Let me ask you one last question here. When you have a market like this, a potential recession underway, high inflation, these these yields at ridiculous rates right now, both on the 10 and the 30. What what happens for an investor to structure a strategy beyond that? So you're coming out of these bad things, right?
Mm,
And as we all know, wealth is made right at the cusp when everybody has lost hope
yeah.
and somebody's willing to risk. knowing that whether it's toward the end of a recession or it's toward the end of an inflation cycle, what's the trigger that you think helps people go, okay, this is it. This is the all in time?
Yeah, look, I mean, and right now, I mean, I'm primarily in bonds, right? So trading around, the short end, but
Yeah.
it's going to be tough to see because again, there's a lot of variables, and it's hard to predict how those variables are going to play out.
Hmm.
You know, the recent trip to China was a bit of a shocker to me as well.
Yeah.
Statements about Taiwan, the Iran war. I mean, these are, I'll just say these are extreme variables. And without knowing how they play out or what's going to happen, it's really hard to predict the macro markets.
Yeah.
The things that we can look at though is, okay, what's the bond market going to do? What's, general stocks going to do? What's general crypto going to do? But I think some of these variables need to be removed before people can really start, you know,
Yeah.
playing the markets again, so to speak.
Well, you've got, I'm
Because
showing the SPX right here. We've seen this hit all-time high. We continue to see up only, but here over the last couple of days, a couple of red candles. But there are a lot of people that are still placing this above 8,000 for the S&P. What's your feeling on this?
my feeling is I don't know.
It's that
And I
crazy.
hate
You just,
to be so ambivalent there, but
yeah,
it really is a wait and see, I don't know
yeah,
type of situation. Do you want to be out of stocks entirely? No, but it is a time for caution.
yeah.
It is a time to wait and see how other macro events play out. But I'm not betting the farm on the S&P right now. I'll tell you that.
There's
Certainly
gold
not
going
close.
sideways a little bit over the past 3 weeks. I guess it's been trading up and down slightly. But if we do get into those more horrendous financial conditions, this may be a play for sure. I'm
Yeah.
still. What is your theory on tokenized gold? Or are you more of a physical guy, or do you like the idea of tokenized gold?
I don't really care about tokenized gold.
Yeah.
I like physical gold. I even like gold ETFs, but like,
Mhm.
I mean, if gold ETFs are available, why do you need tokenized gold?
Sure.
There's no market for it.
Yeah.
So and there's a massive market for gold ETFs. So if you need to sell, you've got liquidity. For tokenized gold, who's going to buy it when you need liquidity? It's just there's
Right.
it's not a great two-way market at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of an angle. Even though I do think the degens that are out there like to trade it, which isn't an obvious thing, especially if you look at the gold on that run up that we saw there. I mean, this was a fantastic run up on gold for
Oh,
many of you
absolutely.
guys seeing it coming in
Yeah.
from back of August last year, almost a year into that cycle. Even though this cycle now does show a downward trend, but
Mhm.
you think that could stop?
Yeah, I mean, but here's the other thing too. Gold usually rallies ahead of inflation and ahead of recession. It
Okay.
usually starts losing steam once those two things begin to occur. Now that we're moving into a real inflationary environment, gold has lost steam. But if recession starts heating up,
Hmm.
I expect to see gold heat up into the recession. And
I
then once
see.
recession hits, people just sell off the gold because they need money.
Well, there you go. Steven, it's always fun having you on the show. Thanks for these insights because I think right now it is a very unusual market. And I think everybody's waiting for this clarity to go through. I'm still concerned that that's probably going to end up with a little market bump and
Mhm.
then a retracement back into the macro reality,
Right.
which is where I see it going. But thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Paul.
You bet. All right, you guys know what to do. Make sure and like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time right here on the XRP Pod. Take care.